All right, so 4.3, linear relationships 2. Okay, now what this one is all about. Well, let's actually just do a little review here. So if you're looking at this situation, right? So this is a line like what we were doing in the last lesson there, right? So we had, y is equal to 2x plus 4, right? And what that meant, right? Like here, I'm even gonna just relate that again too, right? So this meant if we had like values of x and values of y, that we could put some numbers in for that and it would make sense, right? So in this graph, let's say if I started at like -3 for my x, and then -2, -1, 0, and 1. Well, what this graph is showing, right, that if my x is -3, then my y would be at -2, right? And if my x, sorry, was at -2, right, that point right there, well, then my y value would be at 0. And then if my x was at -1, then my y would be at, well, right there, up there now, right, 2. If my x is at 0, then I'm at 4. Okay? And now the next point, when x is 1, is actually off the graph. It's up here, but we can kind of see where that is, right? And we can also see that it's going up by 2 every time. This next one has to be 6. Okay? So that's what we were doing last lesson. And the idea is when we made these graphs, we always get a straight line, right? And that's why it's called a linear relationship. Okay? So now what this lesson is going to be on is what about a situation like this though, right? So if we graph y is equal to -2, then this is what we get. We actually just get a line going straight across at -2. So what would a table of values look like for that one? Right, so we made this into a table of values like this. Well, you can see now that, as x is going up, right, it's going up by 1 every time, that our y values are actually staying the same, aren't they? Right, it's staying at -2. So as x, if I look at like when x is 3, right, y is -2. When x is 5, y is -2. When x is -2, y is at -2. So it doesn't matter. Our y value is always -2. So that's going to end up giving us a horizontal line, right? So remember horizontal, what that means? It means that you're, if you ever get confused about which way is horizontal and which way is vertical, the horizontal is like if you're looking out toward the horizon. So if this is me standing here, if I'm looking this way, then I'm looking out toward the horizon, right? So you can think about that as horizontal. And then vertical is the other one. Vertical is straight up and down. So anyway, if we have this situation, like y is equal to -2, then we get a horizontal line at -2. Okay? Now let's look at another straight line. Well, actually, sorry, let's back up. Is this a linear relationship if you have a line created? Well, yeah, it is. We do still have a linear relationship because we have a line created. And technically, this is even kind of following our same pattern before, right? This one you could think of as just going up by 0 every time, right? But it is a constant amount, so it is still linear. Okay, so another example of this, if we go down a little bit, what about a vertical line, so straight up and down? So that line is a little weird. It's not going to be now y is equal to. It would be x is equal to. So if I have an equation like x is equal to 3, that's going to be a vertical line, so straight up and down. And x, like my value for x, is going to be 3 everywhere, right? All along that line, my value for x is 3. Okay, so then in this case now it's 3 all the way down. And my y value is the one that's changing, right? So y is like 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3. But the x is staying the same all the time. Okay, so that's pretty much the lesson, right? We're just going to do that in different ways. But one thing I just want you to pay attention to is a lot of the time, the kids find this backwards to what they think it should be. And I think it's because of this. Because if this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis, right? Then a lot of people think that the y, since it's the one going vertical, they think that the line should be vertical. But it's not. If you have y is equal to -2, that's going to be a line at -2, so it's horizontal. So this might be the opposite of the way you think it should be, right? So just be aware of that, that this can, you might just get it backwards and might need to focus on that. All right. So that being said, let's do some questions. So I opened that up for you guys. So if you go to your other tab there, to your interactive notes, then I want you guys to graph this one. So just to remind you how to graph on this thing, you can make a point wherever you like, and then just make a second point, and then that makes a line, right? So that's not the answer. Your answer should look a little different. So I want you to graph y is equal to -5. Okay, so for this one, guys, we got y is equal to -5. So this should be a horizontal line, right? Because it's y is equal to, maybe the opposite of what you think again. And it's going to be where y is equal.
Close student input so you can see if you get it right. Oh.
Did you get it right? All right. Yeah, so yeah, y is equal to -5. So that means it's going to be -5 everywhere. So when I'm making my 2 points, I can actually pick any point as long as it's, well, any point, but any point on this line here, as long as it's at -5, right? So I can make it there and there, right? But that worked to make my line picking any other 2 points. So there you go. That should be the one there. Okay. All right. So let's do the next one. Okay. All right. So I open student input. See if you guys can do this one. So it's saying x is equal to -4. Yeah. I just had to record again. Okay. So yeah, the answer on that one was y is equal to -4, right? So it's -4 everywhere. All right, same idea here. Can you write this one in? So this will be, well, there's a little hint there. You kind of get, x for your variable. It's probably, I should have made an x and a y there, so you had to choose. But yeah, what's the equation for this one? So open it there for you. Okay, so let's see who got it. So close input. All right, pretty good. It's funny I called those different things. They're both the same. Weird. Okay, either way, it looks like you guys are getting it. So here, let's make it a little tougher now. So now we're gonna do it again. But you know what? I'm gonna let you guys give this one a try. I'll give you a hint though. If we're gonna graph this line right here, right? This doesn't look quite right, does it? This doesn't look like what we were doing. You need to change this into the form of like what we were doing before you can get going, right? So this will require just like a one-step algebra problem here, okay? So I'm gonna see if you guys can do that one, so try to do them both. So I'll pause it here and let you give it a go. All right, so let's see this one. I'll just open it up for you, see how we did. So student input, all righty. We got some lines anyway. 4 on that one, and then here's the other one. All right, so we got a few doing things a little wrong. I think I know where the problem is going to be, right? So I'm guessing that quite a few people on this first one made a line at -5, right? So maybe they were thinking, okay, there's a straight line happening at -5 there. But that's not quite right, and here's why. So I'm going to rewrite this again. So y -5 is equal to 0. So did you see, like in the other equations we were doing, it was always like y is equal to like 3 or -2 or something like that, right? And that's what we need. We need y on its own, and then like the number over here. So I got to get that 5 out of there. So how do I get rid of that 5 that I'm subtracting right now?
You add it.
Nice.
Yourself.
Yep, we add it, right? Because right now we're subtracting. I want to turn this into 0. I want to get rid of it on this side, right? So I'm going to add 5, and I'm going to add 5 to this side. So now we get y is equal to 5. Okay, so now this one I can graph, right? So this one, we would be making a horizontal line, because it's y is equal to, at 5. So anywhere along this horizontal line when y is 5, so like there and there, let's say, that should be good. All right, so now the next one will be very similar, right? So if we move on down here, so now we have x minus 4 is equal to 0. So again, I don't want x minus 4 is equal to 0. I want x is equal to something, right? So I got to get that 4 out of there. I got to get that 4 to that side. So same thing. We're going to add 4 to both sides. So plus 4 and plus 4. So we get x is equal to 4. So now remember, when we're dealing with x is equal to a number, that's not a horizontal line. That's a vertical line, right? So that's going to be a vertical line when x, right, these are my x's, is equal to 4. So anywhere on this line, if you can see where my pen's pointing there. So like there and anywhere else on that same line. So that should be good. So okay, well, let's make it harder now. So in this question, it says find the equation of the vertical line. Okay, so first up, let's figure out what vertical means. Vertical, that, right? So vertical line, straight up and down, through the point 9, 8, right? 9, 8. And I'll give you guys a hint before we get going on this. Your 9, that's an x value, and your negative 8, that's a y value. And they're saying that this line going straight up and down goes through this point, right? It might be helpful to get your bearings to kind of roughly sketch this point. Okay, so if I was going to sketch this point out, then this would be, well, my x value is 9, so this thing's going 9 to the right, and then down 8. So that point is at 9, negative 8. Right, I find that might be a little bit helpful, and we want to know the horizontal, or sorry, the vertical line that goes through that point. So it would be like the line that goes through there. So can you guys write down the equation? So it would either be like y is equal to like 4 or something, or it'd be x is equal to some number. Okay, so here I'll open it up for you and see how you do. Yeah, so looking at this one, yeah, the other one that might have been close was y is equal to negative 8. So the only thing here, right, is remember that I'm talking about this line here, right? So this line is a vertical line. It's going straight up and down, right? So like we were saying, straight up and down lines, those are going to be x is equal to something. And I think a lot of you guys had that, right? You're like, okay, it's x is equal to something. And we're not, this x is equal to 9 minus 1. That would just be x is equal to 1, right? You actually just do that. But this will be a little easier than you think, because if you look at this point right here, right? My 9, that's my x, and that's my y, right? So if I made ticks here again, this would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those weren't spaced out very well, but let's say that's at the 9th tick, right? Okay, well, this line here, that's 9 everywhere, isn't it? Okay, so the y value was negative 8, but it would have been everywhere, right? Like all these points would have been on this line. So yeah, it's going to be your x value of that point. Does that make sense? Because that's the one going straight up and down. Okay, so let's try another one. All right, so now we're given a table of values. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do one more. Let's go back, and I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to generate a new question, just to be fancy. I'm going to open student input again. So find the equation of the vertical line through this point. So again, I'll help you out by kind of sketching it quickly. This point is, so that's my x value, and that's my y value. So my x is 6, so I'm going to go 6 to the right, and then down 5. So just somewhere in there, right? So that would be at the point 6, negative 5. Okay, so can you guys, now I'm going to open this, can you guys write the equation of this line? Oh, shoot. Okay, so, and sorry, and by the equation, I mean the line that goes through that point. That line. Okay, so we're doing a little bit better. So that y is equal to negative 5, guys. Remember, y would just, that'd be a horizontal line, right? So we're dealing this the same as the last question. It's vertical, it's up and down. So that's going to be looking for our x value. Okay? And then negative 6, I feel like someone probably just typed in the wrong. They just saw that maybe a little bit backwards in the negative 5. So, okay, let's move on to the next one. So wait, I think, oh yeah, we got a couple more. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, let's do table of values now. So looking at this table of values, we want to write an equation for this one above. So here, I'm just going to open it. I'm going to let you guys write it. So it's either going to be x or y. So writing it in there. So x or y is equal to something. So I guess on this one, you have to write the equation for the table above. So yeah, y is equal to 5, right? So make sure I like that. And then, yeah, with this one, y is equal to x minus 5. It's just going to be y is equal to just some number when we're dealing with horizontal and vertical lines. So let's actually just look at this one a little closer, right? So this is saying y is 5, right, everywhere, right? So if you sketch that out, then as, if we had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, so those are like my x values going this way. Then my y values are at 5 everywhere. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, then this would mean, so when x was 1, y is 5. When x is 2, y is 5. When x is 3, y is 5, right? You get the idea. We end up making a horizontal line at y is equal to 5. So it's 5 everywhere, okay? Okay, last question. Similar to the one you guys have already done. So on this one, we're saying find the equation of the horizontal line through the point 6, -1. So I'm not going to give you any more info than that. I'm going to let you guys just try this one from there. So I'll open it up now. All right, some of you guys are getting it. Good job. Actually, lots of you. I'm a little confused why that shows up in 2 different places when it's the same answer. But either way, 6 of you guys did well there. Or everyone did well, but actually, and this one too. So it was, well, I guess that was 5. Yeah, so that wouldn't be right. But okay, let's look at this a bit closer. So if our point is 6, -1, you don't have to sketch it like this, but it just, I think it kind of helps to visualize it. Our x value is 6, and our y value is -1. So that means I'm going 6 to the right because it's positive 6 and then down 1. So that point there is at 6, -1. And we have a horizontal line going through this thing. So a line like this. Okay? So in this case, we are looking for our y value, right? It's a y value that's staying the same at -1 every time. So it's y is equal to that y value. Okay? All right. So that's it, guys.